Welcome to Sekuralaw Experience. This is a new episode. In this time, it's going to be me only, Luis Elizalde, founder of Sekuralaw. And I would like to speak today about something that is happening right now, because after all these years of experience, it's something kind of weird for me that we work really hard to provide all this kind of information for the clients from the beginning to the end of the closing. And all the time we try to provide the big picture, all the information related to the closing process, the cost, everything. And after all these years of experience, I still have some client that we are in the middle of the closing and they still doesn't understand how is the closing goes or how the closing process. They only looking for all our advice. That is good. Of course it's good. But the beginning of Sekuralaw was that you need to have all this information, and it's very important to have this information because at the end it's an investment that you are doing in this country, in Mexico. You are taking a risk that is not really a risk if you do all the process, all the steps. So at the end, it's an investment that you are doing, and I think it's a good idea that you have all the information. So let's take a step back and speak a little bit about the closing process. And I think from now on, every 10 episodes, we are gonna talk about this again, because if you didn't see the last one, you can see the new one, So that's the thing that I'm looking for. The closing process, I established the closing process in 5 simple steps. The first step is the due diligence. What is the due diligence? After you see the property and you already like a property to invest, okay, you have to give some deposit or earnest money that is around 5,000 to 10,000 US. That money is going to take the property out of the market, and the seller is going to provide all the legal document of the property. So we are going to have time in this first step to review all the legal documents of the property. What I mean is the most important thing is the public registry. We are going to look in the public registry, the background of the property, to see that there is no any lien or encumbrances in the property. After that, we are going to the property tax. If there is already a trust or fideicomiso in there, we're going to review the depth of the annual fees. But the most important is the public registry. If everything looks good in that moment, we're going to tell you, okay, everything looks good from my point of view. The background, all the legal documents are okay. So we can move forward to the second step. The first step, due diligence, is a process that we have to do, and I spoke really fast about it, but it's very important, okay? After all of the due diligence go well, we can move forward to the second step, that is the promissory contract. This document, the promissory contract, sometimes the client, they don't understand exactly why we are doing this promissory contract. And sometimes they want to go directly to the notary. And the importance of the promissory contract is to establish the condition of the transaction. Meanwhile, we are working with the trust, fideicomiso, and all the documents, pre-closing document that we need to get in order to get the closing done with the notary public. But that's another step. So in the promissory contract, we are going to establish the parties, seller and buyer, the payment, a scheduled payment if you are going to make different payments. We're going to establish penalties, something that is very important, penalties. And after you sign this contract, because of course, you need to review it. If your language is not Spanish, you need a contract that has to be Spanish and English. Of course, the English is a courtesy version. It's not like the one that is going to be valid. The Spanish version always going to prevail. but the English is a courtesy and has to be the equal, has to be the same. So you will be aware of all the terms and condition of the transaction. After we create and review the contract, and you as a buyer and seller review the contract and agree with the terms and condition of it, we can sign this contract, execute this promissory contract. Something that also very important in this promissory contract is a term to get the title executed. Because normally, for example, if we have an assignment or right agreement, an assignment or right of a fideicomiso, it could take a little time if the bank and everything looks good. But come on, perfect. Something good happened. Stephanie de la Millar is here. We were talking about the closing, so it's not gonna be so boring. Only speaking, only hearing me. Now you're gonna hear Steph.
Okay.
Now, I was looking to speak about the closing process again, because after all these years, I realized that for experience that I just having right now with another closing, is that the clients, we provide all this information to the clients, and we have a lot of things that they can take that information, the videos, all videos, Instagram, Facebook, everything that we already create for them to have all the information for a smooth closing. But I realized that they don't really have that in mind. It's not very simple. So nowadays, or not nowadays, every 10 episodes, I think we are going to speak again of the closing process. And I already spoke about the due diligence. I was in the promissory contract. Let's finish the speaking about the promissory contract, and then we can start with the next step. And
Okay. Sounds
awesome.
good.
So at the end, the promissory contract, I was almost finished that step. That is the terms and condition of the contract. And after both parties are agreed with the terms and condition, we can sign or execute that contract. In that moment, we can say that we finish the second step and we move forward to the third step, that is the fideicomiso or the trust. In this step, what do you think is the most important?
For me, it will be the substitute beneficiaries. When setting up the trust,
Okay.
I will say the spirit of setting up the trust is, yes, of course, that you will be the beneficiary, but who will be your substitute beneficiaries? That it's, I think, an important step for the client, because they designate who will heritage this asset.
That's good. So that's something that you have to be aware, that you have to appoint your substitute beneficiary in case that you pass away. So in this case, we're going to ask you or request you all the information, like passports, IDs, proof of address, everything, because we have to send that to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in order to request the permit that is going to help us to formalize the trust. And in that permit, we have to establish the substitute beneficiary. And that's the reason that is very, very important to have it.
Yes. And it doesn't mean that it's written in the stone. You can modify them if you need to. There is no restriction regarding age or nationality. You can appoint substitute beneficiaries that are foreign, also that are national.
Yes.
And the only condition is that has to be physical persons. That is all.
Of course. Yeah.
Because there is very common, can I name my family trust as the substitute beneficiary? Oh, that will be a smart move, but it's not possible here.
Exactly.
No?
Exactly.
So that is the only condition, but you can appoint your kids even if they are underage. They will have this right already written in the trustee bank contract.
So at the end, this step looks like it's going to take forever, but not really. The most important is to get the permit. As soon as we have the permit, we can move forward to the first step. In this, before we move to that step, in this step, after we sign or after we finish the promissory contract, in that moment you are gonna pay the trust. You're gonna pay
The trustee bank fees. I think that
exactly.
it's the second most important
Exactly.
thing of setting up the trust that you have to be aware, because before that you don't have to really make any other payment than our retainer. You don't have to invest any monies regarding closing cost until you set up your trust. That will be the first payment that you have to do.
And that's something important because not just like it's something else. It's really important because if you try to make the payment before you sign the contract or the promissory contract, and something happen and you don't move forward, you already paid to the bank. And as you know, in Mexico, US, Canada works the same. It's really hard to get money from the banks. So if you pay something,
that's what they do for living.
Exactly.
Keeping money.
Exactly.
Not
So
giving it.
So it's really hard. So that's the reason we always recommend to the client, okay, after you sign the promissory contract, you can move forward with the trust. That is the third step, fideicomiso, pay the fees, and then get the permit. You maybe were thinking about that permit, or you're gonna have a contract in that moment, and it's not like that. The contract, the trust, the fideicomiso, the real estate transaction, everything is going to be in one document. That is the fourth step. The fourth step is the notary public. The notary public here is very different from US and Canada. You have to realize that because the notary public here
is expensive.
Expensive? Yeah, no, that's true. But it's expensive because he has the faculties to retain the taxes. That's the government. That's the reason. The notary, of course, need to be an attorney and they need to do a lot of exams, but at the end it's like not exactly appointed by the government, but it's like an arm for the IRS. It's something that helps to retain all the taxes and they have to pay it. So that's the reason it's kind of expensive because they have a lot of responsibilities. So in this case, we move forward with the permit. Then they draft the public deed. We review it. In the public deed, you have to find the name of the seller, the name of your trustee bank, the name of the buyers, the purchase price, the contract of the trust or fideicomiso that is big, all the pre-closing documents, all the certificates. Remember that we spoke about the due diligence? That is the first step. There you will see a certificate or no lien. So
that it's part of due diligence.
Yeah. So in that moment, that's the reason that's very important. And this is something that is happening right now to me because the client that they are right now, we are almost done. We are days for the closing. And they were thinking that the closing will happen through DocuSign. It's not that it's not good DocuSign for private document, but in a real estate transaction,
no, it's not possible so far. I mean,
exactly.
We are looking to that to evolve and to get more modern ways to formalize documents. But so far, at least in Quintana Roo, it's not possible to sign through an electronic form. So you have to be present or grant a power of attorney, which is really, really easy. And if you don't have time to travel, it will take you out a lot of stress. You can grant the power of attorney to us. It's a special power of attorney created only to sign the deed on your behalf. And afterwards, it will be void. It's only created for the execution of that document and the documents related to formalize that document. That is your public deed.
Your title at the end. So that's the importance of the notary public, of the fourth step. And after you execute the title, the last step that sometimes all the clients forgot. Why? Because they are so happy, and that's good that you already signed a title. But the last step that in that moment our work is done is when you receive your title duly recorded in public registry. The importance of this is that, remember the first step, that the due diligence? I said that the most important is to review the public registry, the legal background of the deed or the property through documents, legal documents. So that means at the end, in the step 5, it's the same. We have to be sure that your title is duly recorded in public registry. So everything is a process that has to be complete. So after 6 months,
6 months,
could
yes.
could take 6 months right now because the work of the public registry, we got your title duly recorded, and when we called you to say, hey, we have your original, it's kind of surprise for some clients, but it's
They already forgot,
yeah, exactly.
that they need to collect their title, because the one that they get immediately is the certified copy of the public deed that they signed. And the title, it has all the documents that, as you said, come along with all the closing process.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end, all the payment that you made from the notary public that looks expensive, you will see all the receipt, all the taxes, everything in there. So these 5 simple steps is the closing process that we will be speaking about almost all the time. It's something that we are not going to stop doing it, because the most important for it that you have all the information. Of course, also will be good if you hire us, but it's not the most for us. The most important for us is that you have information, that you can have a good closing, and you can invest here. At the end, everything is going to be good for all the country if you invest and you have the certainty how to do the things. A smooth closing for you is the best option if you have all the information. So
That you know what is going on. No?
exactly.
Because I have been in foreign countries, and knowing what is really going on, I mean, in simple words, it helps to calm your nerves. Because yes, you are in a different country, maybe you don't speak the language, and if you know in general terms what is happening in your legal process, I'm sure that it will help to get a smooth experience. So exactly, even though you decide to not hire a lawyer, you see this video and identify in which step you are. That will be our public service.
Yeah, no, and
From our heart.
no, and it's our aim. At the end, that's the reason we create Sekuralaw. The reason is that you have all the information. That's the reason if you approach us at the beginning, we are not going to start charging fees. You need all the information, all this information to avoid any problems in the future. So it's very important for you that you understand how is the closing process in Mexico, more if you have a trust or fideicomiso. So please contact us if you have any questions. We are not going to charge you anything. And we are going to continue speaking about this every 4, 5, 10 episodes. And you can find all the information that you may need in our podcast, or you can reach us. So please contact us if you have questions.
And if you want or decide to hire us,
that's an extra.
And we will be happy.
Exactly.
Because we like business. But our main, as Luis say, is our main goal is to have all these foreign investors well informed.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.